Mute yourself. Dr. Ahmed, we hear you, but now the chair will start talking and introducing you, then we'll start the session.
Can you hear me, guys?
Dr. Ahmed,
Yes.
do you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, now the chair,
Yeah, I
Dr.
can
Ahmed
hear you
Amin
now.
Ham, yeah, will start speaking. So Juhi, introduce the chair.
Well, thank you very much.
We now move on to the second technical session. I invite Dr. Abdullah Ahmed Manam, who is a senior lecturer in the Faculty of Languages and Translation, Al Jamia Al Islamia in Malappuram, Kerala, to chair the session. I also invite Dr. Ahmed Abdul Tawab Sharaf as a plenary speaker. I now request the chair to continue the session. Thank you.
Distinguished guests, paper presenters, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to everybody. And thank you for joining us on this marvelous webinar. Language is a divine gift that makes human beings different. We got to be grateful to God, the Creator, for this amazing and awesome ability to speak and articulate. According to ethnologue.com, as many as 7,117 languages are spoken today. And do you know, out of this top 20 languages of the world, India has 7 on the list. Ladies and gentlemen, no dispute, translation is so important a subject. Without translation, it is simply impossible to communicate given the huge diversity of languages, and diversity is beautiful. All of us love beauty. Let me quote a definition given by a well-known Italian novelist, journalist, and translator of Algerian descent, Amara Lafous, who said that translation is a cruise or a voyage from one bank to another. الترجمة رحلة بحرية من ضفة إلى أخرى. Like any other art or science, translation and interpretation needs talent and training. Don't forget that this is a skill that can be acquired if you have a strong will. Ladies and gentlemen, here is a man endowed with rich experience and in-depth knowledge who hails from the land of pyramids and the river Nile, the cradle of one of the world's ancient civilizations. His interpretation skill and his views on its present and future will be of great advantage to students and teachers of translation. Our guest speaker is one of its teachers at the Manufia University, Jamiat al-Manufia in Egypt since 2015. Dr. Ahmed has MA and PhD degrees in applied linguistics. He has experience in teaching in the United States of America in a number of universities over there. And he also worked in Turkey as a professional interpreter. In addition to that, he also worked as TV presenter on certain TV channels. In addition to that, he participated in different international conferences in the US. Dr. Ahmed was also a guest speaker in different academic institutions inside and outside Egypt. He has, our guest speaker today in this session, has published books in both Arabic and English. Well, ladies and gentlemen, his talk will take about 20 to 25 minutes to be followed by a question and answer session. Let's welcome Dr. Ahmed Abdul Tawwab Sharafuddin for his plenary talk. Dr. Ahmed, please.
Well, thank you very much. I deeply appreciate your presentation and your introduction to me. I just wanted to make sure that my voice. Hold on.
Voice is clear.
Hello, Dr. Ahmed. Hello.
Yes, I can hear you now. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So thank you very much. Thank you for introducing me today. It's a great honor to talk to all of you today. I'm talking to you with my students, and I'm very excited to have such unusual experience. This time I'm also inviting my students, and they are surrounding me now. I just wanted to make sure that my voice is clear for everyone. Today, our topic is, I would like today to talk about interpretation and interpreting in the past, in the present, and in the future. In the past, in the present, in the future, right? I just wanted also to share this presentation with all of you. So I just wanted to make sure that you can just see my slides. Can you see it? Can you see the slides? Okay. But anyway, is my voice clear for everyone, guys?
Yes.
Hello?
Sure. Voice is clear,
Okay.
Doctor.
So I'm gonna talk shortly about the topic that I have today. So when we talk about interpreting, we have to understand that interpreting and interpretation has a historical dimension and a historical background. It dates back, it goes back to the 300,000 years BC. And at that time, interpreting was used just for trade, and it was used just for communication. And one of the interesting points that I found, that is in ancient Egyptians, they were probably the beginners of using that strategy and that style of translation and interpreting. However, unfortunately, there are insufficient sources to gain a detailed information regarding the style and the nature of interpreting at that time. And I'm just talking slowly as I have my students with me today, and I just wanted to make sure that my voice is delivered accurately and clearly. All right. Now let me just go to another part that I have here. So we're gonna move now from the stage of the ancient Egyptian era or time, and we would like to move to another era or another time, that is the late and the high Middle Ages. That was during the medieval ages, في أثناء القرون الوسطى. And at that time, interpreting also was very clear. At that time, Crusades, at that time, they were in the Middle East, and interpreting and interpreters, they were doing something that they were doing something great in conveying information and in delivering the message. And now I want to move to another different part we are talking about the historical background. Here we are talking about something related to interpreting and the translation in the past. Believe it or not, even in Europe at that time, during the time of the medieval ages, there were exchanging delegations coming from the Arab to the Arab side, and that required also interpretation and interpreting at that time. During the modern interpreting played an important role. We all remember what happened during the Second World War and the First World War. At that time,
sorry to interrupt.
At that time, an essential and the necessary needs for interpreters in order to
interrupt, Dr. Ahmed. We are not able to see your PPT.
I would like, okay, let me just share the slides now here. Can you see it now? Now I shared it already.
Okay, sir, it's visible. Thank you.
Now, we are talking about the modern age. We are talking about that during that time, we are talking about what's happening today. Today, we have that sense of technology. So it's different from the past. When we talk about interpreting today in our current times, we are talking about equipment, we are talking about tools, we are talking about, let me share here something like, for example, we are talking about and the technical and the facilities that we probably can have today. For interpreting today, we probably can use the headset, we use the microphone, we use the internet as well. And as you can see here in the photo here, I was just trying to make sure that all the equipment and all the tools are working perfectly. Now, when we just go to the future of interpreting, so in the past, in the present, in the future. The future of interpreting is something that is fascinating as well, but there is a very critical point that we probably need to rethink about it, which is technology probably will replace the human beings. So as we can just see that technology today replaced some other different jobs. So there is a skepticism today, and there are a lot of doubts that technology probably can also replace the profession and the job of interpreters. So there is also something very important to consider here regarding the situation of interpreting, that is the soft skills for the interpreter, the soft skills of the interpreter. So this is very important as well. In the future, what we're gonna see in the future is the question, and that is probably could be the last point that I have today here. This is a question that I would like to raise. Is it true that translators and interpreters could probably will disappear in the future, and the machine translation and the machines will be doing the same job as a translation question that I think that this is the question that we are trying to answer today. To what extent machines and electronic tools and technology probably could replace the job and the performance of the interpreters. I think now I got the end of my presentation, Dr. Abdullah. So thank you very much for having me today. I appreciate that. And I will be ready for any kind of questions or any feedback or any inquiry. I will be very, very happy to answer any questions you might have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. But I think you took less than what you were allotted to. You could speak until 20, 25 minutes. You took less than 10 minutes, I guess, or I'm sure. So if you would love to add something more, please go ahead.
Sure. One of the things that I would like to add, and I'm sorry because I have, as I explained that to Dr. Isa, one of the things that I would like to have in my talk today, it is the different types of interpreting. We have different types of simultaneous interpreting. We have something which is called ad-site interpreting. We have something which is called consecutive interpreting, and we have the simultaneous interpreting as well. And I think that when it comes to the challenges, one of the things that I have in my mind is the challenges that could surround the concept of interpreting nowadays in our current times. As I said, there are high level of challenges, and we would like to understand deeply how to deal with such challenges and how to understand and how to grapple with the situation regarding the technological devices that we have nowadays. I just read a few days ago that is major companies like Google, they decided to manufacture devices that can replace the human beings for translation. And here, when I talk today, for example, let me show you that I have my cell phone, and I use my cell phone today regarding any process of communicating with different languages. So I think that the challenge that we have is machines probably could play an important role. And there is also something very important that I would like to add, which is the artificial intelligence, الذكاء الاصطناعي. And that probably also can play an important role for understanding the current situation and what we can see in the future. So this is something very, very important to consider in our minds. In the past, we were talking about that translation and interpreting have a number of skills, soft skills, something that goes beyond the linguistic entities. And nowadays, we are talking about some other technological and advanced skills as well, something like the devices, the internet, the artificial intelligence. And so the question that I would like to raise today is to what extent people will be able to stand in front of such technological challenges when it comes to interpretation and interpreting. There is a very, very wide gap between the past, between the present, and what we can really see in the future. Well, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Abdullah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the insights you have put to the audience. And I think we can allow a few minutes for the audience to raise any questions or if they need any clarification on your talk. Please.
في ناس هتسأل أسئلة وأنا هجاوب على الأسئلة.
Any question from the audience,
السؤال اللي
please?
هيجي لي أنا هقرره مرة تانية عشان
Yes, sir.
Yes, go ahead, please.
First, to thank Mr. Ahmed for this wonderful, Dr. Ahmed for this wonderful presentation. And speaking about machine-human replacement in terms of translation, this is like a big topic to talk about, but I want him to elaborate in 1 or 2 minutes about his opinion and why is he more into thinking that machine can replace humans with the language changing with time, like culture changes, and then with that change, language itself changes with the terms, with the terminologies, and with the vocabs and everything. So machine, I don't know, but I am more into machine cannot replace translators. I want him to elaborate in 1 minute or 2 minutes about his opinion and why does he think so.
Sure. So your question again, let me repeat the question again because I'm sitting now with my students in the college and they are following me. So I like to repeat the question again to all of them. So your question is, to what extent machine translation could replace the human factor or the human element, especially when it comes to some other points like the cultural backgrounds, the social backgrounds, and all of that kind of stuff. Okay. Well, I think, if I may ask a question, could you tell me what's your name, sir, please?
My name is Ahmed, and I have been working as a translator for the last 10 years. I am now a faculty member at the Mar University, one of the central universities in Yemen, and I am doing my PhD in literature right now.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Ahmed, inshallah. Thank you very much for your insightful question. I think back again to your question, I think that machine translation is making a huge progress and advancement. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, please. Please continue, Dr. Ahmed.
All right. So back again to your question, I think that machine translation is currently making a huge progress regarding the development of the technicalities of translation. There is an issue, which is something related to understanding the cultural background and something that goes beyond the surface structure and the explicit meanings of words. So I think here in this way, if we just add the artificial intelligence to the process of the machine translation, we can see how important it is, the machine translation. Remember, Dr. Ahmed, that in the past 10 years, machine translation was not making something good for translation and interpreting. Today, there is a huge progress happening, and that is why I have doubts, I have skepticism that one day probably translators and interpreters could disappear. Yeah. Back again to you, Mr. Abdullah. Dr. Abdullah.
Can I ask Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh?
Please.
Is my voice audible?
Yeah.
To all? Thank you, Dr. Ahmed from Jamiat Al-Manufiyya for this flicker concerning will translators disappear one day. Actually, I'm pleased to have you with us in this webinar, knowing that Dr. Muhammad Anani and his student here with us in Jamia Taiba, Dr. Muhammad Fawzi Al-Ghazi, وما شاء الله معنا الآن أستاذ رائع حريص على إنه يعني sharing his own point of view concerning whether translation aided machine will help, or is it human machines will replace humans in the future. I'm skeptical about this issue, especially when it relates to literary translation, as literature is it's a meta language. It's a language that requires super cognition, talent, musicality. Will the machine cope with these issues, Dr. Ahmed?
I'm sorry, could you please repeat your question again?
Will machine replacing literary translation one day? Do you think machine will replace literary translation?
I think it will be. Hold on, please. Hold on for a second. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes. Yes, Dr. Ahmed, please.
Okay, guys, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, go ahead, Dr. Ahmed, yes.
Yes. Again, back again to your question, Dr. Hannah, and I'm sorry to repeat the question again, because I'm sitting now in front of my students. I have more than 65 students sitting in front of me now, and they are watching everything, and we are so much excited to bring my students.
Can we say hi to your class, Dr. Ahmed?
Just saying
It's very
hi
inspirational. This is Dr. Naima Al-Ghamdi from Jamiat Al-Imam Abdul Rahman bin Faisal, saying hi to my friends.
Dr. Naima.
To the answer. The answer.
We are having bits and pieces. Dr. Muhammad Fawzi Al-Ghazi here with us in Jamiat Tayyiba. I have been in contact with Dr. Muhammad Anani. I have visited him in his flat in his modest flat and sit with him for days. Thank you for having this wonderful professor and for the chance that this global webinar open the gate for people to communicate and exchange emails. Thank you very much.
Okay. Let me request the chair of the session, please. Move on to presentation. Yeah.
Right.
Dr. Ahmed,
I'm gonna go now and answer shortly your question, Dr. Naima, and thank you very much for your question, which probably, if we have enough time, it's gonna take like a lot of hours to talk about this. But let me tell you something in a nutshell. Let me tell you something in a nutshell. Let me tell you something in a very, very short term. Machine translation may not be able to replace any sort of literary translation. Literary translation is not just a usual translation, but it's something that goes beyond the usual translation. It goes into the imagination, the way of thinking, the different meanings that we have, the different levels that we have in meaning. So I think that it's gonna be very challenging and very tough to imagine that machine translation could replace any sort of the human factor when it comes to the literary translation. الترجمة الأدبية. Right.
Let me request the chair to move on to presentations.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ahmed Abdul Tawwab.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Dr. Abdullah. And I wish I could continue with you, because I'm going to continue now my lecture with my students.
Please.
But I'm very, very excited to have such a wonderful experience. I have now about 70 students. They are smiling, they are happy, they are excited to be participating with their professor in such a global electronic forum. Thank you very much for having all of us today.
It is our honor to receive you today and to listen to your talk. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let me ask our paper presenter, the first